Hey guys, this is the inaugural episode of Tonight's Watch, the 1,000 times better titled HBO reaction show than the actual Game of Thrones reaction show. I am Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a quick rundown of the new episode of Game of Thrones each Sunday night. Basically, we're going to do like a couple of minutes, spoiler-free, not too spend too much time on it, because we assume if you're actually looking up, commentary / reaction on what just happened, that you've actually seen it. So we will let you know when we're going into full spoiler territory. So, Ron, what were your initial thoughts on Season 6, Episode 1, The Red Woman?
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't have really any complaints about it. It was about what I thought it was going to be, just kind of tying up loose ends from last season. So,
sort of. I thought they did a good job. The best thing about the finale from last year was just giving it so many different directions they can go with each individual plot line. I thought they did a good job continuing the setup, which is,
yes.
We're not expecting, huge shit to go down in episode 1. And I actually thought more shit went down than I thought was going to have happened, so I was actually really pleased with the episode. A couple of the plot lines had some really cool shit happening.
That's what I was going to say. They did a good job balancing it, because usually tying up loose ends is kind of a lot of downtime, just a lot of dialogue. But there was still some other stories going on that they meshed in there, pretty well, that are kind of like B-plot, that it brought some action and stuff to the episode, so
they had a lot more action than their first episodes usually do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the episode. It's Game of Thrones. It's never bad. I thought this was probably one of their better episodes to start off a season. Because looking back, most of the memorable things in the show are very, very late in the season. So this actually had some memorable stuff happen, which is pretty cool for an opening episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, it's a 9.3 on IMDb.
Yeah, yeah, people are looking like they're pretty happy with it. So is there any negatives to it you can talk spoiler-free before we jump into the full discussion?
No, I thought it was a pretty strong episode. Like I said, I didn't really have any complaints. Complaints that I have are the ones that, the writers wanted me to have, so.
Yeah, like when you want to. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for our spoiler-free section, so you've been warned. We are going to be going full spoilers for not only this episode, but obviously implications from previous seasons. So
why don't we have a red alert drop yet?
If you're not caught up, do not listen any further. And
you don't have to tell our people not to listen any further. They know.
They do a great job of that themselves. So yeah, we are in full spoilers. Why don't we try to go, I guess, step by step through the episode? I think that's the easiest way to talk about it.
Okay.
I appreciated them going directly back to Castle Black.
Yes.
Because if this was The Walking Dead, which I can almost guarantee you what they're going to do, is if this hadn't been them, they would have gone back to Castle Black at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And I liked them jumping right back into it. And
we would have gotten a Morgan episode.
They actually did something really, really cool, which I hadn't thought of, is when Jon Snow's death happened, the immediate thing you think of is, besides Jon himself, you think over to Sam, but you didn't really think to the people who would be backing him there and how they'd also be targets.
Right.
I absolutely loved the idea of them basically with Jon Snow's corpse basically batten down the hatches, trying to keep him out and keep surviving. I thought that was a genius little idea.
Yeah, I really like that. And I like Davros being with them, too.
Yeah, I love that scene when he's going up to talk to him and he's knocking on the door and he's just like, I've run from a lot of men like that in my time.
And in my learned opinion,
we're going to all be slaughtered.
Yeah. I love the balls, too, when he said, he'd give him a fresh horse and let him ride south, and he's like, and mutton. And he's like, what? And he's like, I want some mutton. I'm not much of a hunter.
Davos is one of, to me, the coolest supporting characters in the show.
Yeah.
I kind of group him in with that Bronn and Jorah group, those awesome secondary characters who you love basically every scene they're in.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love the idea of them using the wildlings as the cavalry.
Yes.
When they do that, it's going to be fucking amazing.
Dude, the moment that Davros said that, your lives are the only
you're
ones...
going Doctor Who mode.
Yeah, is that your lives aren't the only ones that Jon Snow has saved. The look on everyone's face in the room was about the look on my face. It's like, oh shit. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting politics. I thought they had some cool dialogue from Alistair when he was addressing the rest of Night's Watch, basically saying, like, yeah, we were traitors, but he was going to get everyone killed, and just basically talking shit on Snow.
Yeah.
Really, really like that angle. To me, other than what we'll talk about next, the strongest plot line they have at the moment was Davos and the other Night's Watch dudes.
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated by how they're going to, if they make it out, when the wildlings will come back. Like, I just think it's awesome. Oh, that scene when Alistair is walking up, I think it was right before he had that exchange through the door with Davos.
Yeah.
All the other Night's Watch dudes with the crossbows drawn on the door, like, you're just like, holy shit, they want to execute every last person that supported Snow.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
intense.
Like a true coup. Yeah, no. I'm fascinated by everything that is going on at Castle Black, and I'm very excited to see how that develops.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about next? I think it might have been what they went to immediately afterwards, was Theon and Sansa escaping.
Yes, I believe. I'm almost positive that's what they jumped to. I'm pretty interested in that too, especially if everything stays the way I think it's going to be when Sansa gets to Castle Black and finds out that her half brother is dead. But that scene with them getting in the water, like, dude, did that not physically pain you to see them crawling into that water?
It was fantastic acting.
Yeah. And then every time you could hear the hounds, like, I got nervous, like, instantly, because the way they had just done the atmosphere in those scenes was just genius.
Yeah, it was smart to never show the hounds. You just hear them. They're almost like supernatural in a way.
Yeah.
It was really, really well done. Yeah, I loved the acting that the Theon actor has done specifically ever since he snaps in the last finale. Once he saves Sansa and gets a little bit of redemption, saving a Stark after all the horrible shit he had done, and he just snapped kind of back into Theon. I think his performance has been really, really well done, because he's basically showing that, like, he is still Reek to an extent. He's kind of like half Reek and half Theon,
right?
And he's trying to come back to reality. Really, really great acting. Yeah. Sansa was great too, and yeah, when they're huddled underneath the tree.
That was a brilliant scene.
Yeah, they're huddled underneath the tree, huddled together for warmth because they're about to fucking die of hypothermia. And then, it's just like Game of Thrones always does. If they end the scene 10 seconds early, it's a heartwarming moment. But you stay on them while they're warming each other up, and then you hear the hound. And you're just like, God damn it. And then, like, I probably would have forgotten, but I just, over the last day or day and a half, watched Hard Home, The Dance of Dragons, and Mother's Mercy, like a little movie, to like the last 3 episodes of season 5. And I remember back that Brienne and Pod were in the area. I was, like, basically screaming at my TV, like, Brienne, come on. And then I shit you not, as soon as it reveals that they're coming in to save them, I was like, fuck yes.
Yeah, I know, dude. That was a freaking awesome moment. And then I think the first victim is one that says something like, it's a bloody woman or something, and then she cuts him off his horse. And then, dude, and this is one of the scenes where we're talking about how you have politics at Castle Black, and you have ass-kicking going on in the woods. Because, dude, that fight that Brienne and, dude, Pod was even awesome.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, one of the coolest things was, like, Pod got to whoop some ass. When he stabs that dude, and then is fighting the second dude, and he's got to knife him, and he basically finishes him off when they both fall off the horse.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And Theon getting a little bit of the action, too, saving Pod, that was cool. That to me, that was the highlight of the episode.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet, because really, I mean, Theon was there, and Theon got that gut-wrenching kill that is just all gurgling sounds. It was just like, Jesus Christ. But, you got to stop and think about that. He said these are some of his best men with some of his best hounds, and Brienne and Pod took them out, like basically by themselves.
Yeah, it was like what was cool was that was a type of fuck yeah moment that's usually reserved for the later parts of the season.
Yeah,
and it was cool to be able to have a full on geek out fuck yeah moment, because if you remember, it was like one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the last season was Sansa when she's busting out and before Theon helps her escape.
Yeah,
she puts up the candle, and then Brienne had just turned away like seconds before and missed it.
right.
So it was
because
kind of
her
like
personal business, her personal grudge match.
Yeah, it was almost like not only personal redemption for Theon, getting Sansa out, but Brienne being there with Pod to save Sansa and them.
Now,
it was like redemption for Brienne too.
If I recall correctly, when she face to face offered her services to Sansa rejected her. But it was when, like, Sansa, I don't think initially knew. Did Sansa know that it was Brienne with the candle? Because Brienne sent a lady in to tell her that, right?
It was never explicitly said to Sansa, I believe, that it was Brienne who was watching. I think, if I remember right, the quote is along the lines of, "You will have friends watching," or something like that.
That's what I was thinking. So, that line, when she lays down her sword and kneels and says, "I once again offer you my services," I thought that was pretty fantastic. Like,
it was cool, too. It was like...
It's like, now that you see what I can do, let me offer you my services again.
And it was not only like a redemption for Brienne being able to help Sansa, but like when you look back, it wasn't ever her fault, but she wasn't able to help the mom.
Yeah.
In the Stark family.
And that's why she wanted to help Sansa, because she vowed to the mom she would.
Yeah, she wasn't able to help originally Renly, because it was like the shadow creature type thing.
Yes.
She wasn't able to help Arya, because Arya was just beyond saving. Arya wanted no part of basically doing anything other than killing the people on her list. She didn't want protection. She wanted to go kill people. So, like, for her to finally be able to save a Stark, and then, like, her acting when she was giving the oath, and, like, after the oath's completed and she's finally, like, completed part of her mission she's been out set to do, the whole time. It was just, I love that moment where, the actress is basically tearing up.
Yeah, this is basically probably the only time that we've seen someone in her service that she actually, or that she's in service of, that she actually saved. And then I loved in that scene too, there's a nice little touch when Pod had to help her with the oath.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, that was great. I'm trying to think. I forget exactly which one they transitioned to after that. Do you remember which one they transitioned to following the Sansa one?
What does that when we went to Dorne?
Yeah, that might have been when they went to Dorne with Oberyn's girlfriend and brother.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. What did you think about, first of all, when obviously they're all bad guys, yes. Oberyn's girlfriend and the daughters, but when they just straight up murk the king dude, I was not expecting
that at all. Yeah, that took me by surprise. So, yeah, no, I didn't know what to expect. You knew what the message was that he was unrolling before he ever read it. And you remember very well what he told her would happen if anything happened to Marcella. And yeah, when he's unrolling that message and you're reading it, I expected him to like arrest them. I didn't expect a coup. And then for his soldiers to be watching, to just stand and watch and do nothing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that, like, until they really made a point of it. Like, that king dude, is reasonable, especially for Game of Thrones standards. But once she recapped, like, everything that had happened and all that had happened that he never had a response to as a ruler.
Yeah.
Like, it made sense as to why the soldiers would immediately say, like, well, fuck him, because, like, she pointed out, like, even before the Oberyn thing happened, that was, like, Oberyn's fault. But what happened to Oberyn's sister,
yeah,
they never retaliated.
Yeah.
And they were royalty, so it would be understandable for the soldiers to be pissed about that. So she had like a realistic coup where I bought them all of a sudden kind of following her.
Yeah, no, I bought into all of it too. And let's talk for a minute about them assassinating the prince.
Oh my god. I expected the other girl to execute him from behind, but I was not expecting fucking spear through the nose, dude.
I was going to say,
brutal.
I saw it coming a mile away, and I figured it was probably going to be through the head just because Game of Thrones. But even when it happened, I think I lurched back, like, oh!
Yeah. I think I probably had the same physical reaction to the sound effect of Theon knocking off Crazy Bitch off the top of the tower thing.
And you hear all
like,
the bones crush.
That sickening crunch, I think I probably lurched to.
Dude, when here's the genius in that moment. Also, like I said, I knew it was coming a mile away, and I figured it was through the head because Game of Thrones, and I was still shocked and taken aback when it happened.
So, and then they transition from that to actually show the fallout at King's Landing from that. And what's so fucking brilliant about this show is how many characters they will show you to be just complete, utter assholes and just the scum of the earth. Yet, you can't help yourself but feel bad for them in certain situations. Like when Cersei sees Jaime pull up in the boat with her daughter, under the shawl. Yeah. And then you just see, like, Lena Headey was amazing in that scene. And Jaime was great, too. Just, like, you've seen both of those characters do such horrific... Like, one of the first things you see Jaime and her do are attempt to kill a 10-year-old kid by knocking his ass out a window.
Yeah, that's how you meet those characters.
Any other TV show, they're done for you as a viewer, period. Yeah. But, like, Game of Thrones deals so much in the gray of these characters that you can't help but eventually either feel bad for them or even root for them. Like, there have been moments in the show where even after Jaime did that horrible thing to Bran, where I have been rooting for Jaime.
Yeah. And you feel dirty
doing it. But it's just great. It's just great writing. So what do you think the fallout is between Dorne and King's Landing? You think Cersei's just going to launch Zombie Mountain across the sea to go murder all of them?
I'm not sure where Zombie Mountain's going to go. But no, there's definitely something that's going to happen. There's definitely a war between Lannisters, if nothing else, and Dorne. I just don't know what kind of war is going to be fought. I don't know if it's going to be all-out war like we saw with the Starks, or if it's going to be more like undercover missions.
You know what I can see them doing, though? Is Oberyn's girlfriend, I forget the character's name, but basically the whole reason she's pissed is because Oberyn got killed.
Yeah.
You just know it's going to come down to the mountain about to kill her, just because that's the whole reason it's happening.
Yeah.
So I could see them having the mountain be the one to end it by killing her.
Yeah.
I love the fallout from the Dorne v King's Landing plot. And what's crazy is, like, that's super interesting, and that's like the 6th most important plot line going on in the show.
I know.
So do you think basically Cersei is going to be wrapping up her vendetta against the what are they called? What's the religious group? I'm blanking on their name.
The
High Sparrow.
the
The High Sparrow and his dudes.
Yeah.
So do you think she focuses on taking out her own personal vendetta by what they did to her, or do you think she's going to fixate totally on Dorne right now because they killed her daughter?
I think it's going to be Dorne for 2 reasons. One, if there's the only people she likes on this planet is just her children. And then 2, I kind of saw the whole shame scene with the bell, her basically admitting defeat. So the Sparrows kind of won that war against her, and then she's going to move on to focusing on Dorne because of Marcella.
I don't know. I don't see Cersei being 100%. Like, as soon as she gets an opportunity, I think she's going to stab High Sparrow in the back somehow.
Yeah.
I just don't see Cersei as the type of character who would lay down, even though it looks like she might. Okay, why don't we talk about the Tyrion subplot, where he's basically in charge of Meereen in Khaleesi's absence. First of all, one of my absolute favorite of the supporting characters is Varys.
Yeah.
And every single line of dialogue that Varys and Tyrion have ever had is absolute gold.
Yeah, they do a really good job with dialogue with Tyrion, Littlefinger, and Varys. They always have fantastic dialogue, and some of the most scariest moments in previous seasons were between Littlefinger and Varys just standing there talking.
Oh, I know. They're so...
Some of those are some of the tense moments, even over the White Walkers and everything. Like, it's just crazy. But yeah, Marines in bad shape.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Marines in bad shape, it looks like. Like, it's just kind of falling apart without Khaleesi around.
Well, it was falling apart even with her around, but it definitely shit hit the fan with her gone.
Yeah. And then they burned
I thought it was
ships,
really interesting.
dude.
Like, it just shows how intense that place is. Like, they never did anything with it, but you know when they were walking through the city and you see that person watching them behind like the broken wall.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's just intense because nowhere in that fucking city is safe.
Yeah.
And their two best fighters are out looking for her, and Grey Worm's fucked up. So like if they get into a battle, they're kind of boned.
Yeah, pretty much. And Tyrion, Varys points out like how he's walking like royalty and stuff, and he's not doing anything to hide it. I did like that moment with him and the lady with the baby.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And then she thinks you're going to eat her baby.
I love, it was a scene from the last season when Tyrion was talking to all of them. He was just like, sorry, my Valyrian is a bit nostril. You remember that quote? That made me crack up again rewatching the last episodes. Yeah, I love the setup of having Tyrion basically play, what do they call it in Westeros?
Hand of the King?
The King's Hand? Is
Yeah.
that what the second...
The Hand of the King.
Yeah, Hand of the King, yeah. Like I love the setup of him basically going through all of that shit with his family being the Hand of the King and just all the corruption basically being practice for him.
Yeah.
To be able to help Khaleesi when he legitimately wants to help her. I can't wait to see where they continue going with that.
Yeah, no, that's going to be pretty awesome.
It's fucked up where they've been trying so hard to be able to go over there and then to have the entire harbor filled of all of their destroyed ships.
Yes.
That has set them back how long?
A long time, dude.
So,
I mean, that was the plot of those ships were the plot of an entire season.
She probably won't go to Westeros until the very last season.
That's what I've been thinking, yeah.
I guess probably the very last battle will be... Well, I don't know. I can't decide if they're going to approach the White Walker storyline first or who actually is the king, you know? I don't know what will be the end game.
I'm hoping it's going to end up Dragons v. White Walkers.
White Walkers, yes. Because if the Dragon Glass and the Valyrian Steel alone can fuck them up, a goddamn dragon,
yeah,
like it's gonna be intense. I'm trying to think of what all. What did you think of the Arya? It was probably the shortest plot line they touched on.
Yes, but they couldn't go through this episode without touching on it with the way that finale ended. I like where it's going.
They're basically turning her into stick.
Basically, like. Yeah.
You think she's blind for good, or you think they'll eventually correct that?
I think that may eventually get corrected, but I think she's going to have to do something to basically earn that back.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is basically...
And knowing Game of Thrones, it'll be brutal.
I couldn't tell. Now, if you remember in the ending of last season, it looks like Jaqen, killed himself, but right. Jaqen ended up being the girl.
Yeah.
So is the girl in the alleyway doing the bow staff fighting with Arya, is that Jaqen again? I couldn't tell if it was the same girl.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely the same actress, but I don't know if it's the same girl.
Yeah, I don't know if it's... Well, either way, I think basically you're right. I think she has to kind of come to terms with how she fucked up.
Yeah.
And how that if she wants to be a part of their order, you can't be a someone anymore, you have to be no one. So,
yeah. And evidently they're still willing to accept her, or that whole scene wouldn't have taken place.
Yeah, they would have just ditched her outright, never seen or heard from her again.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking she'll basically have to come to grips with being blind and realize that that's, her plot to kill Meryn Trant was so ego-driven that for her to be able to come to grips with being blind and having to cope with that and move on, I think will basically probably be what proves to them if they're wanting to take her back or not.
Right.
It's cool though if they ever have any blind Arya assassinations, that'd be fucking metal, dude.
I know, dude. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, there's gonna be some cool shit.
But where did we go from there? There's something we skipped over. I was wanting to touch on eventually, but I wanted to get through everything before we go back.
Okay, I'm gonna actually browse through the IMDb cast list because I can probably figure out if we missed any. Khaleesi with the Dothrakis. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that at all.
I really, really liked how they showed her character development purely on how she's reacting to the Dothraki.
Yes.
Because when you think back to season 1, she is basically a child and she's petrified.
Yeah.
And then in this situation, she has no backup. She has no dragon. She doesn't know.
And she has the biggest balls in that whole region.
Like when he goes up to basically rip her clothes off, and she basically shuts him right the fuck up, like 5'5" little Khaleesi.
Yeah,
I actually really really like the idea.
The guy that hit her, the guy that hit her with the whip, the look she gave him was like, "You're the first one I'm going to kill."
I really really like the idea of putting her out on her own like that, because it's the first time they've really, to me, done any more with her character in a while. Because if you look back, like the first 3 seasons, it was just mostly all the badass shit was Khaleesi driven.
Yeah,
and then it kind of slowed down once she got to Marine. Like they still had cool shit like the fight scene.
They had developed her as a survivor and then as a conqueror, and then she had to have a taste of governing for a little bit. So
it wasn't ever. I'm not saying it was ever bad. It was just the plot transitioned away from her to the Wall with Jon Snow for a couple of seasons. So yeah, I really really liked. I think her out on her own and having to just basically keep herself alive by having the biggest cojones on the planet. I really really dug that.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's any other. I think we pretty much touched on.
Dude, they're gonna send her. They're gonna send her to an island to become Arrow. Basically, it's gonna be Lian Yu and Slade Wilson's gonna be there.
Dude, when they showed the zoomed out shot of how many fucking Dothraki they have, I have no clue how Jorah and Daario are supposed to get her out of there.
I've got a feeling that that's gonna be part of her army by the end of it.
Either that or the dragon's gonna have to come in again and then destroy half of the Dothraki army until they run away.
Yeah,
that's the only way. Either they join up with Khaleesi or the dragon comes back.
Dude, that dragon. There are so many parallels between that dragon and Charizard from Pokemon, dude.
Yeah, I think I pointed out last season that it was Charizard. And you were just like, "You've ruined that dragon for me."
So yeah,
I like the back and forth between Jorah and Daario on horseback.
Yeah,
that was cool. Scenes. Love both those dudes. 2 of the cooler supporting characters. And I think we can probably circle back around to what you wanted to talk about because we're about done. I think we've touched on all of the plot lines.
The Bolton plot line.
Okay.
When it switched to Bolton and Doucheface.
Ramsay.
Yes, Ramsay. Dude, that moment where it's almost, and I say almost, kind of touching and heart-wrenching when he's looking at her shattered body on the bed and stuff. And then the whole scene ends with, why waste the meat, throw her to the dogs. Like, what the fuck?
Fucking, what's crazy is they have done so many things with Ramsay that we shouldn't be shocked anymore about anything he does, and they continue to surprise me with how fucked up a human being he is.
You had this long, tender moment about the first time he saw her, and going through all their life together, and he's sitting there talking to their maester, and then, why waste the meat, throw her to the dogs.
And then, the soldier dude had no connection to the girl, and even he was just like, what the fuck? It's like the last thing you see is, I think after Ramsay walks out of the room, you see the soldier just like, what? It's a great moment. But yeah, and then I guess we can touch on the very ending of the episode now, unless there's anything else you think we missed you wanted to catch up on before we go to the ending.
No, I just wanted to talk about the Bolton stuff and the stuff with the North just real quick, just because I don't know what Ramsay's going to do. I assume he's going to end up dying trying to get Sansa back, since his whole and now his life kind of hinges on capturing Sansa.
Oh yeah, the interaction between Roose and Ramsay, where basically Roose was saying, if you don't, make kids and end up running the North, you're dead to me. I don't give a fuck about you at all. Like,
right.
There was actually like some fear in Ramsay at that moment, because you realize, like you were talking about, like his whole stake to literally his name.
Yeah.
It rests upon the shoulders of himself getting Sansa back.
The name he just got. And then the fact that he's the one that stopped Stannis's march. And then his dad was like, do you feel like a victor? Because you're not. Do you think that's comparable to actual battle?
Yeah. Fucking Roose, dude. They're so cold-blooded. Like, yeah. He's so cold-blooded, he even scares Ramsay. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's a quick little fun question. Who do we want to kill Ramsay?
Theon.
I want Theon and Sansa to just take turns, like, stabbing him.
Jon Snow style.
Over and over and over and over. And they're just like, for the viewers, stab, stab, stab.
Yeah.
So, why don't we talk now about the moment they decided to end on. So they go back to Castle Black, which I appreciated. I was hoping they would go back, because like the whole episode I was like, this all is cool. I really want to fucking know what's happening at Castle Black, though. That's the one that's like really catching my interest. Now that we've seen the Brienne thing happen, my interest is like 90% on Castle Black. So they go back and talk. They go back and have the scene we mentioned earlier, basically where Alistair is going to have them all executed if they leave the door. And then they talk about how basically the wildlings are going to be the cavalry, and they're having to wait for, I forget his name, but it's Snow's buddy, to go and bring them back. And then Davos is like, well, if he doesn't come back, we always have the Red Woman. And I love the line that one of the other Night's Watch bros, who's just like, what's one redhead going to do against an army of 40 armed men?
You haven't seen her do the things I've seen.
Her do what I've seen her do,
I've seen some shit, bro. Shit you wouldn't believe.
And then the end cap was like so bizarrely fascinating. Because
to say the least.
They have so many plot lines going on.
And then what the fuck?
And then like they end on like the biggest what the fuck moment. And then I didn't know this. Did you actually watch the end cap from the showrunner guys they do?
Nah.
I caught it, and then because I was curious what they said about Melisandre at the end, and they were saying basically they've set it up before where she's a lot older than you would think she is. Do you remember them ever establishing that before? Because I didn't. That didn't stick with me.
I don't think if they did, I don't think I ever picked up on it.
I didn't either, because the showrunners, one of them was saying they had established before and talked about how she was a lot older than she appeared, and I had never caught up on that. So when what was also fascinating is what everyone wants to happen is her to resurrect Jon.
Right.
So for them to basically do the end cap as a character moment for Melisandre herself was really ballsy and very interesting to me.
Yeah.
And totally out of left field, but not in like a way that pissed me off. I was more just like, what the fuck just happened?
Like, what am I watching?
When she disrobes and you're just like, okay, this is...
My thought was, here's the obligatory Game of Thrones nudity scene. It
was the obligatory nudity scene you never wanted to see. So yeah, she's basically the showrunner said she's centuries old at least. No one really knows. They probably don't even know in the books exactly how old she is. But
and then it was mirror on the desk.
It was an interesting character moment for her though, because not only was Stannis lost in the whole complete failure of his uprising to try and take the throne, but she's actually having like an internal conflict about whether her religion means jack shit or not.
Yeah.
Because her whole thing the entire time was, I have seen in the light, Stannis will be king. So for that Stannis shit to go the way it did and just completely unravel, and it be a lot of her fault, because half the army left because of the daughter dying.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting. They actually had her have like a reaction to the whole thing, because I had never even considered it, because you get so distracted by the other stuff like with Snow.
Yeah.
So
and to see her sitting there and staring into the fire the way that she was, and then one of the big moments the thing you've never seen her without is that like collar choker thing that she wears, and so she takes it off and puts it down.
Appearance? Is that what we're led to assume? Like that's what keeps her appearance younger? Is that necklace?
I'm assuming something like that, but the fact is that for her to remove that and just like look at like her true form and stuff, like, it was just it was still good writing. It was just not a good visual.
Well, I mean, like, what's crazy though is like it was very effective.
Oh God, yes, it was very effective indeed.
It was disturbing, and it was like you couldn't even explain. When I was watching, I was like, "Is this happening? Like, what the fuck am I watching?" It was just bizarre. But I thought it was cool though because it sets up the snow stuff.
Yeah,
because if you remember, it was either the last season or the season before, but when she basically comes onto snow.
Yeah.
He, the whole thing is he basically somehow has royal blood or something, and they allude to it. And she has an interest in him that they've shown before. So, basically, excuse me, what might be the saving point for her character is if she can latch on to Snow.
Yeah.
And bring him back, and then him be, like, the new focal point. I think it can be really cool. Because, like, they're fucking with you so much about Melisandre being there, literally in the room with
the body.
Corpse.
She touched
they almost
the body.
have to have her bring him back.
Yeah.
So do you think
I think they are going to do that, but since they know everybody's expecting it, they're just like drawing it out.
They're going to take their sweet ass time.
Yeah.
So when do you think, if they do indeed bring him back, when do you think they'll actually have Melisandre bring Snow back?
Probably like by the 4th episode.
See, I think even later. I don't think we're going to see Snow again until the very end of the season.
To the end of the season, I was thinking like between 4 and 6.
See, I think it's gonna be stretched out longer than that because this was the last thing I wanted to touch on. Thought it was very interesting. We didn't get any of the Bran stuff.
Yes,
which they have confirmed is in this season,
and you've already seen images. And set
you've
photos.
Seen images of it. I was full on expecting them to at some point in this episode begin the Bran stuff. So I think
I think now that they have tied
the Snow reveal later.
Yeah, I think now that they have tied up a lot of the loose ends from the last season, because that last season, it's not like Game of Thrones to really leave off on cliffhanger. So now that they've tied all that up, I think we're going to get Bran in the next episode. We're going to get our first glimpses of him.
We are, and then they tied up loose ends, but then every time they type a loose end, it leads to 3 or 4 more subplots. So you never really have anything closed off. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything covered.
I do want to point out one thing that I noticed before we started recording. Did you see the description for this episode?
What was it?
Jon Snow is dead. Daenerys meets a strong man. Cersei sees her daughter again.
God damn it, HBO. That's almost as fucked up as the hard home one is infamously Jon Travels. And then the finale is Jon is challenged. It's like, fuck you, HBO. I don't know if it's HBO writing that or the showrunners, but whoever is doing that, they're both brilliant, but also complete and utter douchebags at the same time. But yeah, I think that's probably going to be a wrap to our first edition of Tonight's Watch. We're going to be doing this every Sunday, talking about the week of Game of Thrones. If you would like to get more of our content, make sure and like and subscribe. You get all of our commentaries, all podcasts, Let's Plays, you get a little bit of everything. So yeah, definitely do that. We have social media links below in the description if you're interested in our Facebook and Twitter accounts as well. And if you know anyone else that might enjoy our material, we really, really, really appreciate you sharing us out to your friends or family. And for this night and all the nights to come, I am Geoff.
And I am Ron, and now this watch is ended.